Okay, I want to talk about policy today. I know some of you are thinking, policy, that's boring. But bear with me, because policy is anything but boring. Throughout the world, governments and parliaments will enact laws. It is policy that turns those abstract laws into the lived reality for thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions of people. Think about this. You and a friend are speeding in a 30-mile zone. One of you goes 35, the other goes 36. One of you will get prosecuted, the other will not. Why is that? It's because of policy. With that in mind, I want to talk about one particular policy, the prevent policy. The prevent policy is a policy enacted by the UK government to prevent extremism leading to terrorism. The policy has been around since the early 2000s, and when it was first instigated, was quite innovative because it acknowledged that it is impossible to eradicate terrorism, but what you can do is you can manage it. This idea was so innovative that throughout the world there's countries and international institutions such as the UN and the EU who've adapted and adopted this very same approach to preventing violent extremism. With that in mind, there are problems with the prevent policy. So I want to focus on three different issues. First, poor definitions. Second, failure to address the root causes of terrorism. And third, tech giants and social media. Now, let's look at the first one, poor definitions. How we define terrorism and extremism is absolutely important. If it's poorly defined, the response by the state will be poor. We had a Prevent review recently. They had the opportunity to redefine how the British Prevent policy sees extremism. Unfortunately, they continued to accept the poor definition that we currently have in place. Let's explore that for one moment. So, according to the UK Prevent strategy, extremism is defined around the opposition of core British values. These are very ambiguous: democracy, rule of law, and tolerance for others and their faiths. It is also an opposition against British foreign policy, British government policy, particularly when the military is involved. It is defined in opposition to nationalism. This is problematic. So somebody who is not British might see themselves as having those same core values. They may believe in democracy, they may believe in the rule of law, yet by putting the term British in front, it makes it rather difficult. A better way of viewing extremism and defining extremism is around intergroup conflict. One particular group will create an identity and an ideology that becomes so entrenched that as a group, they believe they can only succeed if the other group, the other, is destroyed. This means extreme violence is necessary to subdue and eradicate the other, whoever they may be. If we view extremism through the lens of intergroup conflict, it opens up a whole new host of ways of how we can tackle that problem. Second problem is the root causes of terrorism. The Prevent strategy is designed to maintain the neoliberal status quo. What that means is it depoliticizes and individualizes extremism. So what this means is for an individual in the pre-crime space, if they have political grievances, these can't be addressed because it's not a political issue. It is not the system that is wrong, it is in the individual. It is not society that's at fault, again, it's individual. So by depoliticizing it, what we do is we take their voice away. We say, you have grievances? Yes, but they are not political issues. What the Prevent strategy therefore does, it says, okay, in the pre-crime space, what we need to do is we need to bring you back into the fold. We need to convert you back to our own core values. And it does so through de-radicalization or disengagement. For individuals who choose not to take part in that, they will deal with those individuals through criminal justice in an Al Capone-style way. Now, this is problematic. While de-radicalisation and disengagement are very important parts of preventing violent extremism, they're only part of the solution. Extremism and terrorism do not exist in a vacuum. They are part and parcel of a broader socio-economic and political reasons. There are many reasons why individuals will engage with extremist ideologies, why they become radicalized. That could be they feel disempowered. There's poverty, declining living standards. There's so many different ways why people might engage with extremism that there are too many to name. What this means is that to be successful, a government must engage with the wider socioeconomic problems. If it does not, it can't really tackle extremism, because what happens is you de-radicalize a few, but there will always be new people that you have to work with. What this means, to tackle violent extremism and terrorism, the government has to look at the broader context and must improve its social policy. So basically what I'm saying is they have to go and they have to improve society. When we improve society and improve the lives for the thousands and millions of people, fewer people will become radicalized and go down the route of extremism. That leads me to my third point, which is tech giants and social media. Let's not be fooled. Tech giants and social media are wolves in sheep's clothing. Social media is poisoning the minds of millions of people. It is poisoning democracy. And not just that, it is normalizing that sort of behavior, that sort of attitudes. Yes, social media companies have removed extreme content, such as beheadings of ISIS. Those have disappeared, and they disappear very quickly. But the more moderate extreme content that helps people become radicalized remains on the platforms. Why? Because it is part and parcel of how tech companies and social media companies work. Algorithms feed you ever more extreme content because they know that that is what keeps you hooked on their platform. It is not a design fluke. It is part of the system. So, circling back to policy, for governments to successfully challenge and tackle extremism, there is three things that they need to do. They must define extremism in a much more coherent way. 2, they must accept that extremism is a political issue, a social issue, and therefore enact a broader social policy reforms that will help make the world a better place for everybody. 3rd, we really need to talk about social media, how we use it, what we want to use it for, and the algorithms that drive social media. Failure for governments to look at all of those 3 issues will lead to more extremism. And actually, let me correct myself here. It doesn't lead to more extremism. It is already there. We have extremism all around us. This extremism will lead to more violence. And if we're not lucky and not careful enough, it will lead to much, much worse. Thank you very much.